Hello, and welcome to Just Three Workplace Gurus, the podcast about the real world of work. I'm Amy.
Mike.
I'm Vivian.
Well, today, as we are approaching the end of 2025, Vivian and I were excited about the opportunity to share with you some of the highlights and lowlights of 2025 and what we're looking forward to in 2026. Mike, you've gone through a lot of changes this year. Tell us, what was the highlight?
Way to drag me into that one. Yes, I semi-retired in September and I'm working on consulting. I've had some really fun ideas around other things that I wanted to do for work. I worked the election in November, worked at a polling place for
Nice.
4 days. I'm working on another gig at the Pebble Beach Resort in February where I don't know exactly what I'm going to be doing, but I'll be out there on the golf course. So I'm finding little jobs to do and then consulting opportunities anywhere from, big corporate real estate planning, strategy to project management, construction, all that kind of stuff. And so far it's coming along. It's an interesting transition, and I had a lot of FOMO about leaving the company, and they continue to go on. I still miss everybody, and I do miss the work, miss the team, but I call and talk to people and kind of stay connected. But it's been interesting. I still have a hard time saying I retired because I don't feel like that's technically true. And we're actually going to talk about retirement, or the modern version of retirement, in late January. So we'll definitely spend some more time on the subject. But that's kind of what I've been doing, which is a big change. And one of the big things is that I can actually devote more time to Just Three Workplace Gurus, editing. We're working on some contract stuff, on some sponsorships, getting more organized, so that I'm kind of taking that on, which has actually been really, really fun. I'm enjoying keeping us rolling along.
Mike, I feel like you have the best of both worlds
Right?
right now. And
Yeah.
I think we need to reframe the retirement word. I don't know what that new word is because I don't know.
I don't either.
You're
I
not
do.
really retired because you're doing like really fun and exciting things that people would do in retirement that are like probably your passions. And you've got your work stuff. So I think we got to find a new word for that.
Well, my husband likes the word evolving, right? And Serena Williams, when she stepped off the tennis court, said, "I'm not retiring. I'm just evolving." So we'll talk about that more in January. But I think, I think it can mean very different things for different people. But it's kind of what you make of it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
And there's a couple stories I'll share in January about how I sort of envision that. But I agree with you. There's lots to talk about.
Amy, what's your year? You were like a traveling maniac this year. So
I was.
Talk to us.
2025 was the year of yes for my husband and I. So we traveled the world, literally. We went from never going abroad to multiple trips abroad in 2025, from visiting one daughter in London when she was doing her semester abroad to visiting my other daughter in Greece during her semester abroad, to a pilgrimage trip. Yeah, we had Thanksgiving in Greece. They don't have turkeys there. Newsflash. Or pumpkin pie.
They don't have Thanksgiving.
No, they don't have Thanksgiving. They fast forward right to Black Friday. That was a big deal there. Black Friday was huge,
Really?
and Christmas decorations.
Interesting.
I had two girlfriends have milestone birthdays, and we celebrated in Mexico at two separate times. So, and then we did our family pilgrimage to my husband's familial country of the Philippines. So
amazing.
All in 1 year. So 2026, I will be pretty sedentary here in the Bay Area, trying to recover, but it was well worth it. We had a great time.
Amazing.
And I learned to balance a little bit more as well. So I know in the past podcasts, we've always talked about how the three of us really struggle with trying to disconnect and go on vacation versus, being present. And this time around, I was much more present on those vacations. And it made me more excited to come back to work and more like willing and energized to get things done. I wasn't burnt out. So it was very rewarding.
A really good point. And, I also have done a lot of traveling, not nearly to the extent you have, but I did hit two countries. I went to Costa Rica. I went to Paris. Still a lot of travel from New York to West Coast. And then my kid moved from LA to Atlanta. Easier travel from New York to Atlanta, then New York to LA. But there's still a lot of like bopping around. And I think that does force presence and organization, right? In a very interesting way. And when to just say, like, no, I did not come to Paris to be like checking email. Or finding that time of day that like really is not interrupting my presence where I am, but still be responsible. Anyway, I feel like that's an ongoing goal.
It's a challenge.
It
It's
is a
really,
challenge.
and Vivian, I don't know, you've talked before about how you love to work on the airplanes.
I do.
I've tried that now a couple times. Either the Wi-Fi doesn't work or it's really slow. I don't know
No,
how you
it's
can like really,
beautiful.
you must have like some secret
Delta
way of
Airlines
doing
has the
it.
best Wi-Fi.
Okay. Maybe they'll be a sponsor this year, Mike, because that
Okay.
was not, I didn't fly Delta and I did not have that experience.
I'm writing
Well,
that down.
JetBlue is also good. But I mean, every now and then it wigs out, and then I'm like, oh, I guess I'm forced to now chill and watch a movie and read a book, and then you have to just submit, and that's what it is, right? But if the Wi-Fi is on point, and every now and then it cuts out, but for the most part it's good, then I'm like a machine. I really do need a jet. You guys, can we make that happen?
We'll get you your own PJ, private jet.
My flying office, exactly. But yeah, but I look forward to travel because of that. It's so silly. Although I'm about to travel Saturday evening on the holiday weekend, I'm like, I'm not working.
Well, I think it's funny that you say that because a lot of the travel that I've done in the last couple of years is on weekends. Like if I'm going to India, I want to be in the
Yeah,
office on Monday, which means I get on a plane on Saturday. So I'm giving up my
right. You're
weekend
like,
to
I'm
go
not
to the.
touching work. All right,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's pretty funny. But
Vivian,
there were a lot of
what are the things you want to highlight about this year? And I have a big one
my
that we
highlight.
need to talk about in a minute.
A big one too, and I think it involves us. But we were together for the first time in years, the three of us, in person at an amazing event, Amy, that
Yeah.
your workplace hosted for us, which was fantastic. And really to connect with the community and have just such a vibrant, wonderful event. That was really, honestly, one of my amazing highlights. So there's that. The travel, of course, was great. Seeing my family overseas was fantastic. And work-wise, just getting a few things that, you work on and get realized is always very exciting. So that was good. And then, yeah, I don't know, good stuff with the family. So
That
I
was the
can't
big one
complain
that I
this year.
wanted to mention was the three of us together. That was pretty great.
Yes, that was
That was
fantastic.
really special. Yeah. And I think we need to make that an annual event.
At least,
Yeah, I agree.
yes, yes, yes,
But
Amy,
it
yes.
I
took
still
us
think
how
we need
long to
to.
get to that point?
I think we still need to go to New York
Yes, you
I'm
do.
in.
at some
You
point.
do, you
Yeah.
do, you do. And then I look
That'll be
forward
one
to
of our
next
trips.
year. I have a weird new, I don't like making resolutions because I feel resolutions set you up to fail. But I have a goal, maybe I'll call it that, and has
Okay.
really nothing to do with work. But I want to make as many things from scratch as possible, food-wise.
Is that a food or okay, food?
It's for like I want to know what's in my food, number one. It's less money, number two, and I belong to a very amazing food co-op here in Brooklyn, the Park Slope Food Co-op. And as a member, you have to work every 6 weeks. And I was a cashier for the last few shifts. And I was kind of horrified when I realized how much packaging was coming across my cashier in the
Oh,
span of 3 hours. And that was just like one little station. And I thought, why do I have to buy hummus in plastic? I could just make the chickpeas and the tahini and the whatever. So I've been starting already. I gave myself a head start and it's awesome. So mindful in the kitchen, that slows down. I can make batches of stuff and it feels great. So anyway, that's one of my like biggest things for next year. So
along those same
I love it.
lines, you all know I love to cook. And so because I
yeah.
have been home, I'm definitely cooking a lot more.
Mm.
I don't know if that's good for the grocery bill. Like I haven't figured that out, but I will be perfectly honest in saying it is not good for the waistline. Like this is bad. I
I
don't
think you
know.
need to change up your menu resources. Like, where are you
Mm,
pulling the recipes?
You
You're
know,
going
there's a
towards the
lot of
comfort
pasta in
foods.
my life. I'm a good Italian boy, I admit it. So that is,
I've been making my own pasta, Mike. How
have
do you like
you?
that
Whoa.
one? And it
Okay.
is fun, fun, fun. And I told my 3.5-year-old granddaughter, like when she comes here, we're going to make pasta because it's not very different than Play-Doh.
No, it's not. Is
except,
she three and
except
a
it's
half?
delicious.
Good
Three and a
Lord.
half more.
Well,
She'll be 4 next year. Anyway, but
that is true.
once you make your own pasta, you will never go back to packaged
I've
ever.
done it. I, I'd rather make the sauce.
I did
You know,
both.
That's, I mean, that's, I make my great grandmother's bolognese 3 or 4 times a year. Like that's just a
Oh,
thing. I make a 10-quart pot of it and then freeze
wow.
it. And, like I just
Nice.
did it, I don't know, 3 weeks ago. So, and I make pesto on them. My grandfather always made the sauce and pesto. As soon as the sauce was in the pot, then he made pesto and everything went in the freezer. And I have been
Wow.
doing the same thing for going on 40 years now.
I love that. Oh, that's
Yeah. My
terrific.
daughter said to me, "How many times do you think you've made this sauce?" And I said, "Well, say an average of, you know, 3 times a year for 40 years. That's 120 times. Like, I
It's
don't
a
think
lot of
about
sauce.
it. And I
Wow,
love doing
that's
it.
pretty
What is
significant.
funny though is I start early in the morning and I always have wine when I'm cooking. And my wife came out to the
It's
kitchen
all
one day. It
day?
was 9:30 in the morning and I was chopping onions and I had a glass of wine. And she's like, "What
I
are you
love it.
doing?" I said, "Well, I
I'm
drink when I
cooking.
cook. Sorry." I
Sorry,
probably
silly
barely
wo
go through a glass. Like it's
That's
not a
pretty
thing, but
funny.
it was,
It's
sort
a
of the
That's
ritual of
ritual.
having the glass.
Yeah.
Yeah. My second thing that I want to focus on, then I'll turn it back over to you guys. I keep having this lesson so I still take piano lessons, which is crazy, every 2 weeks, and I still learn gobs and gobs of stuff. But the theme that keeps coming back is work less hard in order to, well, I'm a classical pianist for anybody who doesn't know. When you see fast passages, the tendency is to sort of effort more. Like, this is like hard work and you have to sort of like muscle it. And the opposite is true. You actually can't achieve speed if you're efforting. And you wind up actually having much less output physically in order to execute like these incredibly fast, complicated runs and whatnot. And I keep saying, like, I want to take that lesson over into life because when you have to get a lot of stuff and the more you grind and like you kind of like take that old school, like just work harder, doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And I have to learn that lesson constantly. So anyway, that's my next big thing, which is just like one thing at a time, get it done, and don't like grind at it. Just be smart about it and be more strategic. So that's my thing. All right. What about you guys?
Well, mine is that I am trying to read. Some of you may or may not know, but I have become an empty nester.
Mm.
And so I have a little bit more time now that I don't have to drive to soccer games and practices or things like that. And so I've made the last few months a little bit more of my goal to read. And I've been on the more self help path, I guess I would say. So I started with the Mel Robbins, Let Them. I
I
know
love
there's
that.
people
Okay.
and so that's been super helpful for the last couple of months, the whole let them theory, and then more so let me, what works
Mm,
for me, what
mm,
instead of focusing on what other people are doing, thinking, saying, focus on what I want to do and what I want to say or how I want to be perceived or whatever. So I've
love it.
appreciated that book. And then I just started The Atomic Habits. And
Oh, I
Vivian,
want
I
to read
think
that.
you
Yeah.
should read that based off what you
I
just said, because
Yes.
I'm only one chapter in, but my kids are back, so now I'm on a pause a bit, but, I'm one chapter in, and I think that whole part of just creating these little tiny micro
Yeah.
habits
Yeah.
that can lead to something successful, they don't wanna in the first chapter, it already talks about don't find it as a goal because goals then have an end, but really how to
That's
develop habits to get you to be more successful and more productive or things like that. So those are
nice.
my goals for the new year and hopefully
Nice.
kind of I shouldn't say goals. I'm not supposed to say goals. Habits that
Your
I'm
new
looking to.
practices. Yes.
Yes.
Love
Yeah.
it. That's great. I love that. I love that. I love that. And Mike, what about you
I
going
mean, just
forward?
probably continuing on the same path. I'm trying to figure out how this new life works and, what jobs I have. I will say I'm not as organized as I thought I would be. Like, I feel like there's a lot of different stuff I want to do. I used to paint when I was young. I'm starting to paint again. I want to write. And I had this plan where I was going to have all this stuff on the calendar and I would dedicate certain parts of the day to certain things. I've not been very good about that. And it is hard because I have little bits of things. So like I have us recording today and then I have a meeting at 1 o'clock. And so what do I do with the 2 hours in between? Like I'm still
Mm.
figuring out how to organize my day. I'm not
How to
bored.
structure your day.
Yeah, I find stuff. I'm definitely have things to do. The honey-do list is long. It's a million
The
things that I should be
honeydew. I
doing
love
every
it. I love it. I love it. I love
and so it's just kind of, uh, I think getting more organized and making the most of every day
Yeah.
is the challenge for next year. And finding some balance. I think what's been really interesting is it's not a this next chapter is not a 9 to 5. And so I have to plan well. I have to pick days and
Yeah.
say, today I am not doing anything that is work because there are
Right.
jobs, but I'm going to do things at home or, I have to plan that a little better. So I think that's an objective, an opportunity. Let's call it an opportunity.
Mhm. Yes, opportunity, I love it. All right, well,
And then
that's
I will say before we wrap up though, I will say I think we have a lot of goals as a team to keep going and managing the podcast and staying consistent with the product that we put out, and we're hoping to get a couple of advertisers. We're continuing to work on topics, and I got to add this one thing. I remember when we first started this, the three of us saying, what are we going to talk about? How are we ever going to come up with subjects to talk about? And we are now, I think this will end up being our 25th episode. We are not for lack of topics, and we are constantly coming up with cool new things to do. And I love that. And so I think just continuing doing this and the three of us being
yes, we're
partners on
bringing
this
great
is a
things
huge
for
goal for
next
me. And
year.
I know it is.
I agree.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, I wish everybody who's tuning in a happy holiday, and if you wanna share what's on your, kinda look behind and look forward list, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah.
We
Happy
would.
holidays, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Happy holidays.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great one.